Okay. So, I was feeling that there was a video brewing. For lots of different reasons. But mainly questions that have come up with people that we know, with people that we're working with. So these questions are around what's going on in your not, well, it can be in your immediate world, in your immediate reality, but also, what's going on in the world generally. So the questions, why are these things happening? Why does it feel so hard to stay aligned and to not be pulled into other people's dramas? Was there anything else? I think there was another one. Bear with me a minute. Hang on. I think it was the pressures of those things when they come in, yeah. So it's not easy. It's not easy. It is the furthest thing from easy to stay here. And I know that. I'm wearing my rhodonite right now because there's a lot of stuff that, that I'm feeling that is coming up that has to be cleared. Has to be cleared. My hair's a bit weird today. I'm doing a Thomas Sheridan, sorry. Messing with my hair. It really doesn't matter. So, how do I know that it's not easy? Because we are currently, that's personally, going through something with our son, who has, I'm not going to go into detail, but he's basically, we haven't heard from him since the end of February. Not for want of trying. And he's cut himself off from, as far as I know, family, friends, everybody. And Ian coined it yesterday. It's not, when you have kids, that is one of the things that you do not want to be experiencing that as a parent. For no particular reason either. He's just going through something. He's having a drama, basically, because he brought that drama here before he fucked off, yeah. He brought that drama here. Tried to, he did. He created a situation where he just basically ran out of the front door. It was very, very odd, very strange. Not like Henry. Well, he did like a drama. So we know from personal experience that when these things are going on, it is really, it can be a struggle to manage that, to deal with that, to cope with that. So we know that it's not easy, but it's always very simple. Yeah. So simple. This little crystal, and I don't give a shit if you go crystals a bit, fuck off. Yeah. This stone, amongst others, but this stone particularly, really helped me. Carnelian as well is a really good one for using um, to help get get through that thing which we all have. I don't give a shit who you are. Yeah, the beating yourself up with a blunt instrument, that shit. Yeah, which we are told that that's a good thing. Yeah, fuck that shit. Yeah. Carnelian is really good for not doing that. And I used to take that to bed every night. I used to hold it in my hand. Yeah, like it's not going anywhere. And 9 out of 10 times it'd end up under the pillow or on the floor or under the bed or somewhere. Um, so at the moment I'm using rhodonite. This bit I got in Glastonbury many years ago, and I know for a fact that this stone helped to heal my heart chakra from a lot of past life stuff. Yeah. And how do I know that? Because I do soul realignment. And in my reading, it came up that I'd done that healing work, that restorative work on my heart chakra in this lifetime. So I knew that this stone was part of that. Obviously, it's not the whole thing because it is a holistic thing, the restoration, restoring your being involves many different things. Yeah, it's not just crystals, it's everything. Everything you do. Yeah. Anyway, blah. So yes, at the moment I'm wearing this because where am I feeling that in my body right now? It's here. Right here. Um so it's very simple to pick up a crystal. It is the most simple thing. Yeah. If you don't have crystals, then I don't know, maybe there's something else that maybe you play an instrument. um Maybe you enjoy going for walks. So there's in here, yeah, what those things are that bring you joy, so use them. If there's ever a time to connect with your joy, then do it now. Yeah. um and it's constantly reminding ourselves to do that. If you've got people around you that can remind you, that's fantastic. But maybe, I don't know, put things up around you that remind you. If you haven't got people around you that will remind you, then take responsibility for that. Do it yourself. Put things up around you that will remind you to connect with your joy. Yeah? Um, and so this idea that there's chaos out there. Yeah, it is. It is. But why? But why? Why is it chaotic out there? So as we walk, so the different kind of ideas around why this is happening. What I see, so you got to look at it from a witchcraft nature path perspective, as within, so without. Yeah. So what's happening with us on a personal level, this clearing of stuff, yeah, is also happening out there. No one, no thing can escape that. No one and no thing can escape it. How people react to it, how institutions react to it, well, number one, that's none of your business, really. The only business is, is how you, and that's your business, how you react to it. How other people react to it, that's not really your business. Yes, you can hold a space for people when they're going through stuff and they want to kind of share that, I suppose. But you can only ever take responsibility for yourself. Yeah. So what we're seeing out there is people reacting to this energy that's moving through us, and it's intense sometimes. It is. We're moving. Evolution, when something is evolving, it's not pretty. Transformation is never going to be unicorns and rainbows. I'm sorry. The nature of things on this planet right now is transformation is not pretty. It's fucking messy. It involves getting in the mud, getting, covered in shit for it then to be washed off, yeah? There's no... And the amount of shit, yeah, the amount of crap that we have all been holding on to, that we have all been plugging into, institutions are a big one. Question, when did it become a thing that we no longer took responsibility for our own health? When did it become a thing that we no longer took responsibility for teaching our children the things that matter? When did it become a thing that we stopped building our own shelters and handed it over to huge, great, big corporate companies that charge you a fucking fortune for living in something that is actually not very well built? When did those become... Yeah, and the questions continue. Yeah, when did these become a thing where we gave away our ability to create these things and hand them over to these insidious, unscrupulous institutions, companies, whatever you want to call them? But right now, those institutions, those companies are going through the same cleansing process. They are. We can see it. Have you noticed recently? I've noticed this quite a lot. If you ring up a company or your bank or whatever, it's like customer service. It's like, what happened to that? Yeah. In a lot of shops, there are no staff. It's like, and these aren't the weird things where you have to scan to go in and all that sort of shit. Yeah. That's just a weird branch of the timeline. It's just like bizarre. But we're seeing, so what we're seeing is that there is a cleansing going on of everything. Everything. Yeah. So that could look like a lot of, I don't know, what does that look like? That could look like When you go, so if you go into your local town, for example, you see less people. You might see, a few shelves in shops that are like, there's nothing, things are out of stock, yeah. That could look like, and this is a recent experience of ours, uh, a member of the train staff going into, and you could see it on her face, rage, pure rage, because she couldn't handle a situation that had, kind of happened, and people were asking questions. She could not, for whatever reason, deal with it, so she went straight to rage. It was very, very odd, very surreal. You might be experiencing that. Everything seems a little bit surreal out there because there's some very odd behaviour. So, whether it's people experiencing these energies that are moving through us, yeah, they're moving through everything. Or whether it's an institution. So we know these institutions do not have our best interests at heart. They never have done. I don't want to go into that right now. But they never have. Never have. Yeah. So the density that they uphold, it's going to be broken down. It's going to be broken down. Which is why you're seeing such oddness. It's like, so some people talk about, so there's two kind of timelines of evolution. There's a natural evolutionary timeline of, like humans, yeah, and then there's this other weird one where they're trying to do this evolutionary thing, but because it's surrounded by an institution, it's very distorted. So, for example, the thing about non-binary. Now, your soul does not have a gender. It doesn't. Yeah? It might prefer to incarnate as male or female, but that's just its experience, yeah? But your soul does not have, it's not male or female, yeah? So, yeah, the non-binary thing is kind of, is the basic concept is correct, but it's so distorted and so strange that it's very odd. Does that make sense? Um, because it has an institution at the heart of it, yeah, that's spinning a narrative. I don't know if that makes sense. So everything on this planet is going through an evolution. Now, I don't know if you've noticed things in nature. So because we walk a lot and we observe nature quite closely, we are seeing lots of interesting things happening in nature. So if you take nature as your guide, nature's not, you know, I don't know, throwing her hands there and going, oh my God, she's loving this energy. Yeah. And there's some really interesting things happening in nature right now. Just off the top of my head, on the green outside where we live, there's some cherry trees. Never seen those cherry trees ever produce cherries. This year, they're growing cherries. Also, I've seen, this is really bad. I've seen one of the cherry trees over there blossomed twice, with about nearly 2 months in between. Colours. The colours in nature are phenomenal right now. Now, if you go and watch the Celestine Prophecy, it's on YouTube. Don't have to, if you don't want to go and buy the DVD, it's on YouTube. That tells you everything you need to know in there, and it shows you that when you connect to nature in a meaningful way, yeah, she will show you things 100%, which is kind of what we're seeing at the moment, yeah. And I suppose if you can connect via nature, because you are nature, yeah. And what is interesting, so past few years, this is pre-2020 as well, they were cutting down an awful lot of trees, needlessly cutting down a lot of trees around here. And it was just so... And when you ask people what they're doing, they just go, oh, we're just doing our job. That never was a defence. Ignorance is never a defence. I'm sorry. But what we realised was when someone... So if someone can't or won't do the inner work, yeah, especially with what's going on right now, it's like there's something, because things in them are being alchemized, and if they don't understand what that is, if they don't understand, or at least try to understand what is happening to them, there's that rage. So they can't, if, they're not going to hurt themselves. So there's two things that happen. They either start doing like crazy home improvements, like I mean not just putting a bit of paint on the wall. I'm talking, we're seeing that a lot. A lot of people are seeing this, like huge extensions, loft conversions everywhere. We are seeing this everywhere. It's like, it's weird, yeah. But that's doing the home improvements because they don't want to do the self improvement, yeah. It's quite obvious. And the other thing is, when they're attacking nature in such a violent way, it's because they can't attack themselves. So literally, when they are attacking, like the cutting down of, needlessly cutting down trees, and I don't know, we see it a lot around here. When they cut things back, they don't cut it back in a what's the word I'm looking for? In a kind way, for want of a better word. I can't think of the other word that I wanted. They hack. Yeah, they hack nature. It is quite disturbing, actually, because what they're actually doing is they're doing it to themselves, because you are nature. So when they're doing that, they're doing it to themselves because they can't or won't do the inner work. Does that make sense? Sympathy, that's the word. They don't do these things in a sympathetic way. It's like they're unhinged. Yeah. Because they're not doing the inner work. And they always have that line, oh, we're just doing our job. And there is also a cognitive dissonance there as well, because the other thing that we're seeing is, this is local council, they're destroying nature but then they're saying things, oh, we're rewilding, or we're building a nature corridor, or putting new hedges in. Yeah, but you just destroyed that hedgerow that was down there that's been there for, I don't know, centuries. So that doesn't make sense. Why would you destroy a hedgerow and then go and plant a new one with all the, the fucking stupid plastic things around them? So now we have, and because they don't do it in, I don't know, a sympathetic way, you just end up with lots of plastic everywhere because what they're planting is they plant them too close together, all those things where they're not doing it from a place of knowing what they're doing. You just end up with, these weird plastic things everywhere. It's like, well, that's not good, is it? But, they've got to spend their budgets, haven't they? Anyway, so, yeah, how can you stay aligned? How do you even know when you're aligned? So one of the main things that I wanted to talk about after rabbiting for 26 minutes is if you're experiencing stuff in your reality, in your immediate reality right now, and you think, oh my God, why the fuck is this happening to me? What have I done? What the fuck did I do to make this happen? Isn't that something we all are? What the fuck did I do to make this happen? So, first question is, have you been doing the inner work? Are you aligning with love consciousness? That's what we call it. Are you aligning with your soul and how it wants to be in the world? Yeah. If the answer to that is yes, then you can pretty much guarantee that what that is that's passing in front of your magical eyes, yeah, isn't necessarily a bad thing. Yeah, it might look like it's a piece of shit. It might look that there's a bit of shit on a plate for you. Oh fuck, yeah. But so when it comes to crystals, for example, you might pick up this very weird looking thing on a beach, but if you split it in half, what you'll find inside of it is not what it looks like on the surface. So when these things, hello, I can't read that. Right, it's too small. Hang on a minute. Bernie, hi Bernie. So when you experience these things that look like this, and it's that thing, isn't it? It's in the kind of spiritual world, it's like, oh, well, it must be something inside of you. It must be something you're not doing or that you're doing wrong that is causing that. Okay, so maybe that is a pile of shit as well. Because if you are, and the Celestine prophecy 100% nails this, yeah? So something that looks like it's a disaster that's passing in front of your magical eyes might not actually be. So I'm going to quote here from the Celestine prophecy. It is a mistake to think the worst too quickly. Always, always, always. And this is the bit that is really, it's like, it's really challenging, yeah? Because always find the deeper meaning, the silver lining, yeah? What's that say? That's what keeps you in the flow. So by keeping your vessel, your mind, everything about your being open to the experiences of each moment, yeah, which is we are not taught this stuff, yeah? We are not taught this stuff anywhere, yeah? We're not taught this at school because it's an institution. We're not taught this by our parents because they didn't know how to. They didn't know how to do this stuff. If they did, we probably wouldn't be in this situation right now. And I'm not blaming you. Blame the parents, you know, because we have chosen to be here right now to do something different, yeah? We have chosen to be here now to do it in a different way. That's why when people are talking about this stuff and they, it's an amazing time to be here. Yes, it is, but fucking hell, is it hard? Because we're trying to do things, we're trying to put the brakes on and like go down that road. I'm going like that, sorry. Go down that road instead of going down that road, which is the road that we've always gone down. So yeah, and also, so when you're doing the inner work, when you're connected to your higher self, your soul, whatever, however you want to describe that part of you that is not this physical body, yeah, because we are not just this physical body. When you are connected to that, there's an expansion of your senses. So, what does that mean? It means you see. You could say see with your third eye, but it's also seeing with eyes that, I don't know, that we call it in witchcraft magical eyes. All your senses are heightened when you connect with nature, when you connect with your soul, your higher self, your higher consciousness. There's an expansion that happens with your senses. Pardon me. Now, what's interesting about the eyes, where are they? I never wore glasses, but 6 years ago, roughly, I think, something like that, I couldn't, read text on a page, like really tiny writing, as well as I could before. And I'm like, oh my god, so I didn't go down the rabbit hole. Oh my god, I'm getting old, my eyes are blah blah blah, all that shit. But you know what's really interesting? Something I've realised is I can actually read that writing. I can. The only reason I can't is when that program starts going in my head. It's bad. But what's actually more interesting is when I'm out walking in nature, nothing is blurry. Nothing is blurry. Things are only blurry if I'm trying to read writing. So what is that? What is that? I propose that's an evolution of the sense of sight, because what is it that we really need to connect with? Nature. So we see nature as she is, as more than what we believe that she is. Yeah, does that make sense? Rather than a bunch of writing on a page, because if you're reading a book, there's nothing wrong with books. I love books. I love books. I love to read books. But essentially, what you're reading is someone else's idea of a reality, which, there's nothing wrong with that, because as an occultist, you can cherry pick. So bits that I'll put that in. A bit like making food, got to put that in. Put that in. No, I don't like that. I won't put that in. So there's an expansion of your senses. So quite a few years ago, when would have that been? I suppose nearly 10 years ago. This came into its own, and I'd always hated this. Yeah. I always wanted it changed. But then I realised what this is for, especially when I started putting together oil blends, essential oil blends. And it's like all of a sudden, I knew what this was for. It sounds a bit weird, but sense of taste. So you may, well, what you eat will change, for example. How you put food together with different flavours will change. Your hearing. So a lot of people, I know this for a fact, are hearing frequencies that are not coming from, like, something in their home. So where is that coming from? So that could be an inner frequency, or it could be that you're hearing things in nature from the earth that you couldn't hear before. Even seeing UFOs, people generally don't see them until they're ready, until the eyes are ready to see them. Yeah, when you have eyes that are ready to see these things, then you will see them. When you've reached a level of evolution where your senses are expanded to a point where you will see these things, and that includes your illuminated path. So for the past 2 years at Sawain, that is what we've been doing. We use a psychomantium to set the illuminated path. So in no way, shape or form will that path be ambiguous. And again, that's something that they explore in the Celestine prophecy, the illuminated path. So that's when you know that you are aligned. So how do you know you're aligned? How can you stay aligned? Well, you allow your senses to be expanded enough that they can see that illuminated path. That's your inner guidance. That's your soul, your higher self, whatever you want to call it, that knows the path. It knows the path because it chose the path before it incarnated. Does that make sense? So before your soul incarnates, it can see all the possibilities, every possibility that's available to you with, so before you incarnate, I'll plug my phone in, your soul, depending on how much karmic baggage it's carrying, will choose a path that will be in proportion to, if you look at it like glasses. So if you are carrying a lot of karmic baggage, this is negative karmic baggage, then your soul can only make the very best choice of the path it's going to take that is in proportion to how foggy your glasses are, the karmic goggles. Yeah. So if you're carrying a lot of karmic stuff, you might not be able to see that well. Does that make sense? Before you incarnate, so you'll pick the very best one that you possibly can, and that is quite hard to even consider if your life hasn't been particularly easy. But it's always a choice. That I'm always talking to people about this. Choice is your superpower. So at any point on that path, you can do the inner work, you can clear that karmic stuff, and then you can start to make, as the way becomes clearer, then you can start to make those better choices which create different outcomes. Yeah. And that's your insight. So as your soul moves through this particular incarnation right now, it will give you insights. It will give you opportunities to make different choices, but it's whether we can hear it or not. And again, that's something that comes as you evolve more. You can listen more to what your soul is sometimes shouting at you. I experienced that myself. Oh dear. And we all learn, don't we? And we kind of gotta laugh at those choices that we made when we were younger. Oh my god. Because if you can't laugh at them, fuck shit. Then yeah. Um, and there were times, I know now, there were times when my soul was literally screaming in my ear, don't do that. Yeah. When you're younger, you don't listen to that. You don't listen to anything. Oh dear. In fact, even if you can hear it, you go, I'm not doing that. Well, I did anyway. So as we, move on this journey and we get more clarity and we can hear what our soul is trying to tell us, guide us on the best path that will bring the best experience of this reality. Can we hear that? Can you hear that? So staying aligned. So we've kind of explored that, why is it so bonkers out there? And the vision that always comes to my mind, and this was years ago when I was deep in yoga and meditation practice, was that idea of being in silence, being in stillness, holding that stillness in the midst of absolute chaos. So I guess I was given a clue even back then, which would have been nearly 20 years ago, which is kind of where we want to be right now, in that place of, that's why we were doing they are on the channel, actually. They're on the live tab, the meditation circles, where they would always end with at least 15 minutes of silence. In that silence is where you begin to know you, because in that silence is that expansive I don't even know, there are no words that can really describe it, but it's like a void space, but sometimes it can feel like you're jelly. It's really it's quite fascinating, actually. And once you get to a point where you can hold that stillness in meditation, you can then bring that into everything every day, which is really interesting. So even if you're having a conversation with someone, you might not like what they're saying, but can you hold that stillness within you, which then holds a space for that person to say what they're saying? Yeah. So there's a lot in the silence. There's the letting go to the silence. So in that silence are frequencies. So that I didn't want to go into all this, but that's a void space. So the void space is where everything comes from. Yeah. So your inner frequency comes out on it vibrates out. Yeah, it ripples out on that vibration. Yeah. Which then gets in your immediate reality gets rippled back to you, because out there is a collective. It's like a, I don't even know what you call that. It's like a collective cacophony at the moment. Um, but what is really interesting is if you can work on your inner frequency by doing the inner work, um, creating in your immediate reality things that bring you joy, um, using things that can help you with your frequency change, things like singing bowls. I don't know. Oh, there are all kinds of things. What do you allow yourself to experience, like through the television, for example? Do you know? I can't even remember. Apart from watching DVDs, like lots of comedy, laughing. Laughter is an amazing frequency changer. Yeah. Um, Apart from watching DVDs, I can't remember the last time I watched something on the actual television, because we don't even have a television service anymore. So I can't remember. What do you allow through? What do you allow through all your expanded senses? So what do you listen to? What do you taste? What do you communicate? Now, all those things um, will be affected by your inner frequency, but also can affect your inner frequency if you can't practice detachment. Does that make sense? In yogic terms, in the 8 limbs of yoga, that's pratyahara, that non-attachment. So yeah, the your inner frequency. So I'm just reading my notes. Can't read my own bloody writing. So your inner frequency determines your inner frequency determines the vibration that moves out and then comes back in your immediate reality. But what's really interesting is the more you work on that, the more you begin to affect that out there, that outer reality. How do I know that? What are you talking about, Ange? You're talking bollocks. Actually, I'm not. And I know because... Can you hear that? It's really quiet outside. Like, wow. Now, before... I think I've spoken about this before, but I'm going to bring it into context right now. So in 2021, Lionsgate Portal in August, we were away camping. There were a whole shitload of events that happened that made us realise, that happened on that camp, that made us realise that we'd had a massive timeline shift. We'd jumped timelines. Because when we got back from that camp, we were seeing less and less people about. We were seeing some other very strange things, like it's like there were no one in house. The people had disappeared from houses. It was very strange. But the thing that was the most obvious, we live quite near the M25. It's literally a stone's throw from where we live, yeah. And we got the bridge that goes over the Thames. There was always a constant drone of that road, yeah. Constant. It was like a background noise all the time, especially when it was raining. It was very loud as well sometimes. That had gone. That background noise had gone. So we were like, okay, well, that's interesting. Note to self. Now, when we started doing the meditation circle last July, And part of that was about the silence. So what started happening was it'd be really noisy outside, and then we'd do this meditation, and that's interesting. So I just said something, it wasn't quite, yeah, don't worry. So it's really interesting, yeah. This is like Truman Show stuff, yeah. So I say this, so we put it out there, and then we get a car going up the road. It's weird. Reality is bending and shifting and turning, and it's fluidic. Yeah, it's really interesting right now. So yeah, so we'd do the meditation. It would go really quiet outside. So we're like, okay, that's interesting. Interesting experiment. Then what would happen is it would be quieter even when we weren't doing that meditation, to the point where we could hear the birds. We couldn't hear the birds before because there was so much background noise. So that's how I know that when you do the inner work, and it I was going to say it takes time, but it actually takes a lot less time now than it would have done even 5 years ago. Because we are what we are doing as a planet of beings, yeah, is we're actually realizing that we do, that's what we're here for, create reality. That's what we're here to do. We're here to experience the natural world, and in fact what we see isn't how it actually is. It's a lot more than that, and I've seen that in a meditation twice, yeah. But it's like there's this thing that's overlaid over the top of it, which makes us believe that the nature that we see is all there is, and it's not. No way. So yeah, so that's how I know that when you do the inner work, if you do it consistently, so it doesn't have to be like for hours every day. We no longer need to do that for hours every day. It can be 15 minutes but if you do it consistently, you will see results, not just in your immediate reality, but out there as well. And it is amazing. It is truly phenomenal how it works. Yeah. So that's how, well, that's why what's going on out there is going on out there. That you see, we don't watch the news, but on YouTube you get the little, you get the TV companies doing their thing. The weird bonkersness that you can kind of observe in that observer kind of way, without plugging into it, yeah. That's kind of, it's what you can observe it and notice that it is bonkers, but we no longer need to literally subscribe to it, yeah. Because once you realize that when you create a reality from your inner being, oh my God, the world looks very different. Very different. And in fact, all through these past 3 years, when everyone else, well, not everyone else, when a lot of other people were saying the weirdest things, we were not experiencing that in our reality. We just weren't. It was markedly different. So what else did I want to say? So I covered the thing about what is going on out there, why that's happening from my own personal experience of stuff that we've observed, but also stuff that we have been told by Spirit, the Hathors, Orsin. You may or may not have heard of Orsin. That's a whole nother video. And even, the magical work we do. And I think I've covered how to stay aligned when, there is some weird shit, very odd things going on in the world that sometimes are in your own personal reality. So for me, with everything that's going on with our sun, what keeps me aligned? Not just crystals. We have an amazing, we do, yes. We have an amazing marshes that we walk regularly. Although these past few days the dog won't walk in the really hot weather, so it's like just waiting for it to cool down a bit. He actually had to be put in a special doggy rucksack the other day because he did not want to walk the marshes. Oh, he doesn't like it when it's hot. Bless him. He's only a little Jack Russell. So being out in nature keeps us aligned. I mean, that's the biggest one, because she's amazing right now. She's just like phenomenal. If you can get away camping, that sort of thing, that's always amazing. Because we're not built to live in brick houses. I swear to God, we're not, because it cuts us off from nature, which is our very nature. So what else? We use a lot of sound frequency in our work. Singing bowls, tuning forks, gongs, drums, voice, all that stuff. Singing is an amazing way to align yourself with your soul, because it's literally your soul singing. Yeah. Comedy, laughter, being able to flip things and see the really funny side of all this stuff, because it is a bit like a especially when you see all these institutions running around like headless chickens trying to, I don't know, trying to be aligned, but because it's so distorted by their density and the rigidity of what they do and how they do it, it doesn't work. And it's so funny when they try. But, they'll get a nice cleansing just like everybody else. Big one to stay aligned, slowing down. There's no rush. So that was something else that came out of when last time we watched the Celestine Prophecy. So we watched that film when we see the Celestine boat go down the River Thames. Whenever we see that boat, we go, okay, it's time to watch the Celestine Prophecy again. See what I mean? Illuminated path, big signs. That's what we asked for 2 years ago, and we top it up once a year. Okay? So we're repainting. It's a bit like when they repaint lines in the road. We're repainting the illuminated path for the next year. Thank you very much. We want signs that are absolutely
You can't miss them. They're not just illuminous, they're like super illuminated. Yeah, so there's no rush. There's no rush to get to do anything. None whatsoever. It's part of the reason as well why and I did try that for a little while, doing like videos every day. It's like, nah, why am I doing that? There's no rush. No rush. Um just looking at my notes. Keep your eyes open. Something will always happen. So just hang in there. Hang in there. Stay open to this experience, yeah? Try not to label things because that's when you go down the rabbit holes, yeah? Although not all labels are bad. For example, Crystal Singing Bowls is an amazing label and I love that label. um, okay, I'm going to end on this. So, letting go. So that involves slowing down, not attaching, yeah, being the observer. So you let go in the silence. That changes your frequency. And then you connect with love consciousness. Yeah. So love consciousness essentially is a 0 point. Yeah. When you connect with love consciousness, you become literally invisible to the density. So you start to not see the density, but then the density also cannot see you. And this is what enables you to step into the flow. Yeah. This way of looking at things which is not fixed, not rigid. Yeah. It's fluidic thinking. And nature feeds you. Nature literally feeds you. Whether that's energy or food. Nature feeds you. Yeah. So breathe in her energy. Be with her. Yeah. One last thing. This is the notes I took from the Celestine prophecy, and there was a very clear, very clear messages the last time we watched that. Go past belief. Belief is no longer sufficient. Why? I think belief is something that comes from outside of us. Yeah. This isn't about belief anymore. This is about knowing. Yeah. So evolving perceptions will guide us. Yeah. All can participate if they choose. So what do you choose? That's the question. Anyway, I'm going to go because I've been on here for over an hour. I haven't even had my coffee yet. So, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. You know what to do if you did. If you didn't, then cheerio. But I hope you've enjoyed this. And I'll see you at some point in another video. I'm not gonna, yeah, because I don't do videos like regular videos every day or every Tuesday or every Wednesday. Nah, I just do them when I feel like there's one brewing. So I hope you enjoyed this anyway, guys. Thank you very much for listening, watching, all that stuff. Anything else I want to say quickly? I have got some more videos that are in the pipeline, like of our walks that we do. Just so you know, some of the links in the description don't work. Crystalsrock.earth has gone. I'm currently just at my own leisure building building a website for me and Ian. It's a free website. If you're interested in, you know, connecting with us for whatever, you can visit. There is a link that does still work. Witchcraft for the Curious Novice. We've got some things on there where you can connect with us, and we're on Telegram as well. If you want to come over and say hi. Anyway, thank you all for being here, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care and stay fearless.